Today's video we're going to be talking about the Undertaker, which is very flippin' broken, powerful, and I love this character. This is essentially what you would have like a cleric or a paladin on the base game, that you can just ideally carry that kind of build to your knights, and the overall playstyle and weapons that she's going to be using, it's going to be based on that. So this video is going to be divided into sections that you can jump into whichever section that you think that it is more important to you. First we're going to talk about the character, the stats that it has, then we're going to be talking about the special skills that she has, and then finally the weapons that we should be using for this character. So the first stats that we need to have in mind in here, it's going to be that it has a decent amount HP. I'd say that it's like in between the middle. She is going to be a tank, talk about that in a little while, but also she has the most important thing that you need to have in mind into this character is going to be strength and faith. It has a little bit of arcane with a C right there, so it can be using arcane weapons, but the arcane weapons that she's going to be using are going to be determined by them having either strength or faith scaling, and we'll talk about that in a little while. There's actually just one single weapon that she's going to be using that it is going to be meeting this criteria. We're going to talk about individually about the weapons that we should be using, that she should be using, but preference is going to be hammers. However, it's also going to be determined just by the stats. So let's talk about what the hammers is going to give us first. So like with many of the other characters that they have a preference, whenever that they say that they have a preference, it means that you have a dedicated new moveset for this character with that specific type of weapon. You will notice that she is very fast while doing this attack, and she moves very graciously while doing so. So the animation is specifically for her, and she's going to complete these combos faster with this weapon than with the rest of the weapons, because of this special moveset that it has, and that it is going to be important for one of the skills that we're going to have right in here. We also have the different heavy attacks right in here that they actually do have this new animation as well, but they're not as fast attacking as the rest of the new moves that you have right in here. You will see that she moves like very graciously, like I've already mentioned, but that is the preference that she has for the weapons. She can be using any weapons that she would like to be using, but she's going to have this special and faster moveset with the hammers. Now let's talk about the skills that she has. First we have the trance. This is very interesting because this is going to allow you to buff your character right in here. When you're in a trance, it's going to give you a whole bunch of different things. My favorite thing about this is that it's going to give you the sprinting speed immediately without spending stamina. So you can, by all means, be using this to dodge by movement and reposition by movement with whichever thing that you're fighting out there. It also gives you this new dodging, which I'd say it's similar, if not better, than the one that of the Duchess has. Not only that, but if you attack continuously, for example, you're exhausting your stamina at all completely, and you want to continue the combo, you can immediately cast it, and it is going to regain your stamina back. I don't think that it has any more like stamina recovery, or maybe it does. Like, you can be more frenetic about it. It really don't think that it has, but it can be like a nice combo that you're attacking like a maniac and attacking, you want to continue, you use your this thing right in here, and it allows you to continue the assault so that you can stagger the enemy as well. It's also going to give you poise and hyper armor. You cannot get interrupted by a whole bunch of attacks out there while you're in this stance. While you are in this stance, while you're not in the stance, you are going to get interrupted, like you see me doing right in here. If we enter into the stance, we cannot get interrupted by enemy attacks, and we can be trading with the enemy attacks. There's many things that you can benefit from this by using this, like for example getting runes that enhance the counter attacks for maces, or just basically the one that I have right in here. You will see that I have the one that heals me every time that they deal damage for me. That is a build that we're going to have planned for tomorrow, specifically for that. Not only that, you will see that when we make a combo finisher in here, it's going to give you one more counter into this right in here, meaning that it is going to increase your damage that much more. The more aggressive that you are right in here with this thing, the more damage that you're going to be increasing, the more combos that you're going to be increasing. And if you're pairing this up with skills that either increase your damage or give you more damage resistance, or that it heals you, that is a nice build that you have set up right in there. That then again, we're going to talk about a build like that tomorrow. Now there's something special about this, and is that you can use it also as an ultimate, because if you charge it, you can enter into this little stance right in here that it lasts a little bit longer, and instead of giving you hyper armor, it gives you invincibility like at all times forever. And if you're going to be trading, it is going to cancel your attack so that you can immediately dodge. However, the only problem with this, and why I don't really like to use it that much, it's because it's going to be using your ultimate. You can cancel it whenever you want, and if you canceled it, it's going to retain the actual charge of your ultimate. So if I stop it right in here, it's going to retain my charge for my ultimate. But this is a concession that you're going to be making. You're either going to be using the trans ultimate or the actual ultimate that we're going to have right in here, and it's this one, the loathsome hex. There's something very broken and very powerful about the loathsome hex right in here. This is going to track like a maniac, like you have no idea. You could be like 50 miles away of distance from the enemy, and it is going to, provided that you have the lock on them, it is going to follow them to hell and back. So if it's a very mobile enemy, what I love about that is that you're never going to waste your ultimate. You're always, most certainly always going to be able to hit them. The one more interesting thing about this is that you can use it with confluence. As you can see right here, you can activate your ultimate odds when allies or foes execute certain attacks. The certain attacks that it talks about, the foes, is the grab attacks that they have like this knight form specific. When they grab you and if you dodge them, you deal posture damage to them. That is going to guarantee it for you to use one of these guys right in here. But also, every time that your companions use their ultimate attacks, you can use yours. Something very broken and very powerful that it can be done is, like, for example, we have 3 Undertakers on the party, and all of you have your ultimates charged up. Then you can use it once, and then the other 2 are going to use this, and then back and forth. It cannot be used after the mimic of it. It just has to count into the basic ultimate activation. But if you do so like that, you charge your ultimates all together, you can basically use your ultimate 9 times in a single row if you have 3 Undertakers in the party, which is just so broken. You can demolish bosses by doing like that. And then finally, we're going to talk about the weapons. While you are going to be mostly benefiting from using maces because of that specific moveset, it does not need to be great hammers or great clubs or things like that. Maces, she's going to be mostly in her game with maces, but that is not to say that there are not like any other weapons that you should be using. Have in mind that you have high strength and high faith. All of these weapons that are going to have like dexterity, your daggers, more often than not, you're not going to be able to use them. You're not going to get benefit from them. Even, for example, the black knife, which is very powerful, it has scaling on faith, but it is not going to be amazing because mostly scales out of dexterity. There's a couple of swords that you actually can be using, like for example the golden epitaph, which is going to have C strength scaling and C fate scaling. This is a very fast attacking weapon, so you can be completing combos and using the trance skill that we talked about a little while ago. So this is a very good option. Swords of Night and Flame, it's a general weapon that you can be using with any single type of character. It is going to increase because of your strength and fate scaling. This works pretty much with every single character. Also the Coded Sword, which has fate scaling on S, this is a weapon that you can be using with this character as well. The greatswords, there's a whole bunch of greatswords that are going to be an amazing choice for this. Like for example, the Ordovis's greatsword, which has a strength scaling on B and faith scaling on C. Also, the Golden Oda greatsword, it's pretty much the same thing as the Ordovis's greatsword. However, this is a legendary version. And also we have the Sacred Relic Sword, which is going to give us strength scaling on B and faith scaling on C. The same thing applies for the Ultra Greatswords. The Godslayer Greatsword right in here, it has strength scaling on B and this scaling on faith. The same thing goes for the Maliketh's Black Blade and so on and so forth. Anytime that a weapon has scaling into either strength and faith, that's a weapon that you want to be using. There's weapons that have faith scaling that you shouldn't really be using. That is going to be like curved swords or katanas. There's no katana that has faith scaling, but ideally you get the gist of everything right there. Like for example, the Magma Blade, it has a scaling on faith, but most of the damage of this weapon is going to be coming from dexterity, so you should be using this weapon with a character that has high dexterity. She's very good with basically every single great axe that you have in the game, because all of them have S scaling, as you can see right in here. All of them, well, this one has A scaling on strength, and it also has faith scaling, so this is ideally the Gargoyle's Black Axe. If you can manage to get one of this is going to be your prime weapon for the great axes, but all of them, you're going to be just efficient with them. I do want to point out that you shouldn't be confusing the flails with the maces, because the flails are not going to have the same moveset as your maces, and it is very easy to confuse them. But then again, there's like not a single flail in the game that it is going to be giving you faith, so you shouldn't be really worrying about that. Now, the maces, the main weapons that we should be using, the Varys Bouquet. This is the weapon that I was talking to you a little while ago. It has strength scaling and it has arcane scaling. We do have a little bit of arcane scaling, so if you manage to get this guy right in here, it is very powerful because it has lots and lots of bleeding build up, and bleeding building it build up. It's very powerful in this game. It has higher bleeding build up, like for example the Morning Star or the Spiked Club right in here. So if you manage to secure a Varys Bouquet, that's ideal. Your ultimate goal for weapons is going to be the Marika's Hammer. This is like quite literally the signature and staple that you are going to get for this character. It has strength scaling and faith scaling. It is a legendary weapon. It's going to have lots of damage, and yeah. I do want to give you a couple of samples of weapons and how are they going to be different for your character and the scaling that they have. So we have two legendary weapons right in here. The Stat Scorch Greatsword. You will see that this is actually a weapon that scales with intelligence. It's going to give you 229 attack power. The Maliketh's Black Blade, this has faith scaling and strength scaling. If you get so much damage out of this guy right in here, it's because of the faith scaling, and you will see that the difference right in here, it's humongous. You won't have that much damage from the Ruin's Greatsword either, because this doesn't scale properly out of faith. However, the Grafted Blade Greatsword, since this is a weapon that mainly scales out of strength, this is going to give you lots of damage, but not as much as the Maliketh's Black Blade, because the Maliketh's Black Blade scales out of strength and faith at the same time. So anytime that you can get faith out of a weapon, that's going to be ideal. The same thing happens right in here with the Royal Greatsword. This is a weapon that scales out of strength and intelligence. It does not have scaling out of the faith. However, if you compare it to the Godslayer Greatsword, you will see that it has a huge amount of 247 attack power at a purple rarity, because this actually scales out of strength and faith. So these are weapons that you should be picking up, that you should be prioritizing if you manage to get a Godslayer Greatsword or a Maliketh's Black Blade. These are weapons that are going to be dealing tremendous amounts of damage on the Undertaker's hands. Alright, but that's too much information. How am I going to memorize each and every single weapon that I'm going to have out there, so that I know that I'm going to be efficient with that weapon? My usual regular rule of thumb is that you should be focusing on weapons that have either electricity, holy damage, or fire damage. Those three weapons are mostly, more often than not, going to be weapons that are going to be scaling out of that specific stat. So for example, you will see that we have the golden epitaph right in here. This has scaling with faith, meaning that it is going to be dealing more damage than my let's say the Regalia of Aeocade. And also the Mikelan's Night Sword, this is also a weapon that's going to be scaling at a faith. It has a nice scaling on strength, so if you want to be using like your regular swords right in here, that's something that you should be using. For the Colossal Axes that you have right in here, you have the Staff of the Avatar. This is holy damage. This is going to strength, be scaling out of strength and faith as well. The same thing goes for the Envoy's Great Horn. You will see that they have basically the same amount of damage because they have the same scaling. On the opposite, you can be using the Gizzes as well, because this is going to be scaling out of strength and arcane, but that's going to be mostly for the bleeding effect. As you will see, if you compare it to this guy, it's not going to be dealing as much damage because this scales out of intelligence. The halberds, like for example, we have the Gargoyle's Black Halberd that it has holy damage, the Golden Halberd that it has holy damage right in here. If you compare it to something that it is not going to have like the fate scaling, like the Dragon Halberd right in here, you will see that the damage diminishes by a huge whole amount. So then again, lots of information, but have in mind, holy, electric, and fire are usually weapons that are going to be scaling out of faith and should be weapons that you should be using with this character. And ideally, like for example, the straight swords, the great swords are a great idea to have because they are quality weapons, but then again, the maces are going to be your priority. Axes, great axes, colossal weapons, the ultra great swords, all of those are weapons that if they have scaling on faith, you should be using it with this guy. You shouldn't be using curved blades, katanas, and things like that with this character. One of the ultimate weapons that I like to use, one of the most powerful and broken weapons in the entirety of the game because of the actual skill that it has, it's the Grafted Dragon right in here. This has fire damage and it has strength and fate scaling, so this is a very good choice as well. Anyways, if you like the content, I like and super appreciate it. Not only that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person, you're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, you're in Discord. Have a beautiful day, goodbye.